Yes, it's that time again. In this life, we're taught to believe that immortality we cannot achieve. Free yourself from this mental fix. Check your Bibles, John 10:30-36. Do look inside. Use your third eye, Psalms 82. Rediscover the living gods, the higher you. Let's put this painful illusion back on the shelf. Who's talking to you when you talk to yourself? There is no end time for you. Hear what I say. When tomorrow comes, it's still today. The following facts alone should suit you. It was love at first sight, like the picture showed. Wow, baby, I saw this in my dream a week ago. Please do tell how you remember the future. If they still think you're tripping before they snap, ask them how birds find south without a map. If you're looking for God, I'll make it simple. Put your finger next to your ear. Check your temple. This truth may frighten some, it would seem. Though you hear what they say, you really feel what I mean. Return to your former greatness in days gone by, remembering who's still looking when you close your eyes. This mind-changing revelation makes your spirit soar as you begin to remember you've been here before. It may seem I just popped up from out of the blue, but you're thinking to yourself, hey, I remember you. These mysteries have been hidden far too many years, but the world is waking up. I've even reached your ears. This powerful revelation may seem a brain twister. Just let your soul relax for this heartfelt whisper. Come, let me wipe away all of your fears. The truth is back. Brother Amun is here. Yes, on a sea of immortality, you'll forever float. Simply playing a character in a story you wrote.
I'm not even a human being, I'm something immortal. The spaceship dropped me off, I slipped through the portal. Now this world's kinda sorta my amusement. Pick and choose him, step in the booth and transform into Superman. A super jam, and there's people like, shoot him. My immortality's like, you can't kill him. You can't beat him, then join him. Jump into this music, it's legendary like the king of pop. No confusion, cause we higher than your kings, higher than your pharaoh. Bow down from the prestige life to the barrows. We funkin' up the airways cause we thorough. We hit the target like Robin Hood's bow and arrows. I spit the rhymes to the beat, drop a acapella, and when I'm finished with this track, it's like TKO.
Yes, it's that time again. Time again.
Glad to hear you all. Bless you.
They call us the triad.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Triad of Amun.
Yeah.
Who has that first spiritual experience they'd like to share with the rest? We do need somebody to look up that Moto water test, about the water, how your attitude affects the water, and realize what percentage of your body and creation is water. You follow?
I have it.
Okay, very good. If you got something in reading that you can read, that'll be even better because we can't see the video. You know what I mean?
Question to ask. I was looking at that post you put up about 7 or 8 hours ago, and way down the line, I saw that Marquita was reaching out to you to ask you for a healing, like with her nephew. Now, what is up with that?
Well, she also told you that I healed her many times, too.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, I healed her. While I was healing her, she was trying to destroy us.
Exactly. That's why I asked that
So
question.
that's the nature of the beast. Marquita Love, yeah. She would call up here for me to heal her a lot of times, and I would do it. and she had a nephew that was because they all have that Rh negative blood. You know, they can't have children with human beings because they're reptiles. You know what I mean? And they can't have children with that Rh negative factor with human beings because, especially the females, because what will happen is that all of their immune system will attack the sperm of human beings. You follow what I mean? And kill it like something foreign. And so, but sometimes they can give them certain kind of shots over and over again to allow them to be more receptive, but still the children come out sometimes a little deformed and messed up different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because what people just don't understand is there are people walking the earth that are simply just not human. Are you following what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Let me try to be a little clearer. See, you got two branches of people here in general. You have more, but you two large branches of people here. You have Homo sapiens and Homo saurus, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that when the dinosaurs were here, the Anunnaki came and they spliced the genes with the dinosaurs and created a dinosaur man, or a Homo saurus. That's where the reptilians come from, here on Earth, that originated here. And then you have the other ones that evolved, another strain from the Australopithecus, great apes, lairs, chimpanzees, etc., like that. They use that for genetic hanger. And so now you have your mammal people and your reptilian people. Are you following me? But what they have in common is the extraterrestrial gene splicing. From, in other words, this is how you can tell that it's the extraterrestrials. That's the predominant factor in what you call the human race now. It's because a lot of people are still living under the misconception that we all evolved from apes. And Darwin's theory of evolution, and it shows the progression of how we came from monkeys and gradually into Neanderthal and Homo erectus and then but it's always white people because they're talking about them predominantly as Lulu Amilu. That's still so far back behind this genetic chain that they have fur on the back of their legs. Their pigment speed has not changed. They're still white. They still have the fur of animals and all. You know what I mean? And the attitude and appetite of that, Jeffrey Diamond. But now let's consider that for a minute. Now, if everybody that they call human in the mammalian sense evolved from monkeys, and it happened over time. It took millions of years for them to evolve from monkeys into people. Then the question would be, how come the rest of the monkeys are not people yet? Somebody answer that for me. Time passed for them too, right?
We didn't evolve.
So how could you have? Yeah, that's right. So, but how is it that certain monkeys then jumped up and they talking and putting on their people now, but the rest of them still monkeys?
It's because of that 600-year project.
Exactly, precisely. The extraterrestrial involvement. 100 years for gathering species, 400 years for genetic splicing, and 100 years for education. And Shimpi, the laboratories on the plains of Sidonia and Mars, the dark side of the moon, in Egypt, where they got the 3 pyramids. That was another Shimpi, a laboratory that they conducted, the Giza Plateau. They conducted the experiments. That's right. You follow? And then you also have other means of people that is through abduction. They have projects where the graves and reptiles and a lot of extraterrestrial civilizations, they abduct people and they steal sperm samples from them and eggs from them, and they produce children. They mix it with their DNA on crafts, and a lot of men and women recount these abduction experiences, right? And women, for example, they'll take them up and then splice their DNA onto the ovum and reinsert it through in vitro fertilization on the uterus wall, and the woman just started experiencing normal pregnancy, vomiting and, all the thing there. And then all of a sudden, she goes back to the doctor after a certain months of carrying, and she's completely empty. There's nothing there at all. And it's a puzzle. You follow what I mean? So it's not a miscarriage. It's just she's not pregnant anymore. That's because they took her up, and then they removed the fetus when they can sustain it at a certain point. You know what I mean? So they just used the people, in other words, to create beings that will be conducive to this atmosphere and can live here. Are you following what I mean? Because it was just like when the Riskians came the first time, they sent down robotoids and extraterrestrial biological entities, grays and what have you, to check out the soil samples and the air conditions and what have you in the water, and they found out that after testing it wasn't suitable to their type of a life form. So if you'll recall that I told you they went back to a planet that was there before called Meldeck, now called Planet X, and they went into the seas of Meldeck, and they harvested a certain creature called the dolphin, and then they surgically implanted their DNA into it, especially HAR1 type, which are Riskian, and then they released them here in the seas of Earth, and then over many, many years and through tsunamis and what have you, they grew up, and some splashed up on the land and stayed. A lot of them went back to the water, but the ones that came up on the land developed legs. For one time, the whale had 4 legs and was a land creature, and then also went back to the water. The dolphins evolved into what you call the sands people, which are the original humanoids here. Now, people that scientists know that whales still have the appendages from the 4 legs from when they walked on the land, and many of them still do. But the porpoises, they developed over many, many, many years into the sands people of South Africa. They were kind of the females were kind of like a light brown or yellowish complexion, but they all had with extremely with very kinky hair, and the males were darker, much darker. But those were the original human beings here, and that's part of the reason why the black and the brown gene is the exact same gene. But so in other words, you have a lot of different species here. For example, the Dogon of Mali, which were actually Egyptians that migrated to Mali, and they lived around the river area, and then these extraterrestrial beings that were reptilians came down and they landed, Bar el-Malaikat, or ugly water beings. And for those that didn't hear it before, they came up out of the water at night because it was conducive to their skin, and the females especially, because they had expanded lungs, larger lungs, and they could breathe longer and stay out of water longer, and gather up under the date trees, and they loved that because they ate the sweet dates and taught the people architecture, agriculture, science, medicine, astronomy, all this thing, and healing. In exchange for that, they started demanding that they would bring them virgins, and right under the date trees they would rape the virgins, and because nobody would willingly have sex with those things, ugly Bar el-Malaikat. But that's where you get the word date rape from under the date trees, and they were doing that not because they were thought the human beings were so sexually appealing or anything. It's just they wanted to be divided to tie into the vine, to have like human bodies so that they could come up out the water and mix among the people. And but some of those things so For example, if you look at the ostrich people of the Dogon tribes of South Africa, somebody else could do it other than somebody else could do it. Let's all participate and do some research. You'll find that a lot of them have these big bulging bug eyes, and then they only have two big large toes. Two big large toes like ostrich. That's why they call them the ostrich people. And that's a result of that extraterrestrial hybridization, that crossbreeding right there. And people know that is true because every 60 years they have what they call a sagui, where the Hogan, the priest of the tribe, will lead the people out into the jungle, the places they know that the crafts are there, and they're just covered over by overgrowth, but they can chop it down some, and you can see the shiny crafts that actually landed here, and then take them to the sacred cave, where that they have in red ochre on the ceiling, they have these star maps of the constellations, and that part of the heavens that they came from. Sirius A, Sirius B, that whole constellation, and Sirius C. And NASA was allowed one time to come in and photograph it. I don't know what they used to induce them or get them to do that on their sacred rituals, but they did. And they took and enlarged them and overlaid them with real NASA maps that they have today, and found out that when they moved them and jiggled them, they were identical and fitted precisely. And they were confused because at the point that they discovered that, they didn't even know there was a Sirius C until many years later. That planet was there. So they couldn't figure out how they had an accurate star map all those years back before the white man even knew that Sirius was there. So the obvious conclusion is that they had extraterrestrial involvement. And you have a lot of scenarios like that on Earth. A lot of people look at the pyramids, but because you all had your barythera, you were maimed, your barythera gland was removed, and so you've forgotten, sight, who and what you are. Now you look at the pyramids and you wonder, just like white people, where they came from and how they got there. But it was you. You are those celestial travelers since before the dawn of history. It's you. So, wonder of wonders. It's my joy and privilege to help you all to wake up and remember who and what you are. You're the very gods that they worshipped. The very gods that you worship. The extraterrestrials, the extra beings from the astral that are now on the terrace, the terra firma, Earth. Extra terra astrals. Extra beings on the terrace from the astral stars. You're the star children, the star people. All right. Did that answer your question at all?
Yes, it did.
Yes.
Fully and
I love
truthfully.
it.
Thank you.
Very good. I mean, you're beautiful. Okay, next question. Or spiritual experience.
My question is, so what is the difference between the experiment of the Riskians with the dolphins that created the Nubians and the experiment with the Anunnaki that made the Adamites? Is one natural, one more natural, and one more artificial than the other?
Well, one involved a lot longer evolution, and that was the Riskians. So, yeah, I would consider that more natural, that the science people evolved from over millions of years, over time, right? But with the Anunnaki, it was a rushed experiment because they had an emergency with the atmosphere of the gold dome that they had that surrounded Nibiru. That was ruptured by an explosion by Tarnush of a plutonium bomb that allowed the three suns and ultraviolet rays to penetrate to the surface and make the place uninhabitable. So they had kind of an emergency. So they found, the way it went is that Nibiru, which was a fleet, was out in search of star systems and planets that had the nube or the gold. And they found out that the gold on Earth, in this land, in Havila and different in South Africa, was very good. And at that time, Alelu had taken the throne on Nibiru. But after doing more research, they found out that the bloodline of Anu was more true, and that he should have ascended to the throne. And, of course, Alelu objected to that, and as is their way, they challenged one another to this wrestling fight. And all of them, the council got around to make sure it was fair. And even though Alelu was a much bigger creature, much bigger, Anu defeated him and then put his foot on his chest, which is indicating that he won the fight. And so Alelu had to give the throne up, and then he feared for his family as the loser. You know, like you wouldn't want a king if you deposed the king, you wouldn't want him around or a seed, because you'd be thinking all the time in the back of your mind they'd be plotting to hit you in the back of the head with something to steal your throne. You know what I'm talking about, right? So Alelu, he rushed to the deck where the crafts was, and I've been to that deck before, Malachi 2, and he rushed his family on there, and then he was an excellent pilot, Alelu was, and he made his way past what you call the asteroid belt right now, but we call it the Hammered Bracelet, where with the remnants of the planet Meldeck after the accident had made these asteroids. And nobody could get through that. Nobody even attempted, but he did. He maneuvered through there, and then he used laser beams laser beams to blow up the asteroids and duck them and move them. Like, and you know, he went through there some kind of way and made it through and got to Earth, and then he kept on circumambulating the planet, and he found a lot of gold in the water, so they started creating systems where that they could get the gold up harvested out of the water. But then he also found that the largest deposits of it, and much easier to mine, was on land in South Africa. So now, after he was confident he had found enough to do the job to repair the depleted ozone layer, he radioed Nibiru on a wave device that he figured they couldn't trace back to where he was or his location. And he told them that he wanted to make a deal with them, that if they would give him back his throne, that he would give them access to the gold so that they could repair the ozone layer, and they could all live safely on the surface again. And unfortunately, they had the technology to trace the signal, and the next thing you know, a lot of them arrived down here, Enki and some of them, you know, and they were all friendly with him and this, that, and the other. And then another larger contingency came down, was Anu and one of his wives. And after they scoured it out, tested, what have you like that, Anu, you know, he started divvying out parcels of land to members of his staff and family, you know, letting them have this section and that section and this, that, and the other. And then when he got through not all the sections, Alelu was still standing there. And he said, now, I found the gold. You gave sections of land to mine gold to everybody except me. How is that? And then that invoked another heated challenge. And again, Anu defeated Alelu. You know, his sons were telling him, you don't have to fight him. You're already king and all that. You don't have to fight him. You know, you're already the ruler. And but he stripped down naked the way they do, and they did fight him, and he ended up with his foot on his chest again. And Alelu, out of anger, reached up and bit off his phallus, you know, bit his penis off and swallowed it. It was just frustration, and he, like Mike Tyson did in that fight, and bit Evander Holyfield's ear off. He was just so, you know, and when he did that, what they did is they had him sent to the planet Mars, like they sent Napoleon to Elba Island, or sent John out to the Isle of Patmos. You know, they had him sent out there, and his wife too, and he lived in a cave for a long time. But what it was is that because they had a different genetics, the phallus he had swallowed was poisoning his system real bad. And when it got to the point it was fatal, he climbed up to the top of the mountain and he let out one large yell or scream, and he dropped dead, fell down dead from that. And it was one of the Anunnaki men that volunteered to go with him just out of compassion, and they buried him there on Mars. And when you look at the Viking 5 photos of 1978 when they flew over, and the plains of Cydonia on Mars with the 5-sided pyramids, and then you see the big Homo erectus face there, the being with the long hair, and then the incisors, the long teeth right there. That big sculpture, that's Alelu at his face. So you know how he looked, right? That was him. They made that of him. And they got also a large statue, an edifice of his wife there too, right? But then later on, Anu had some nurses. They were really serious nurses. They repaired his phallus and all that. And that's not unheard of, just like they did back in when the two Egyptian brothers had to fight and one lost. That's why they always show the Pharaoh with the golden phallus pointing toward the heavens in the ceremony that they
in the Sar.
Said again.
Satuk in the Sar.
Yes, Satuk in the Sar. Yeah, exactly. And the opening of the mouth ceremony they have. Anyway, they fixed up. These nurses were back then. They not like the nurses now. They were super. They were super nurses, and they fixed him up. And they went back to Mars too to check on them to see how they were doing. And him and his wife were dead, but the guy that volunteered to go there out of compassion, he was barely clinging to life, and he was. You might as well say he was dead for all intents and purposes. But they resurrected him and brought him back, and then brought him home. But what your original question was is what was the difference and whether which experiment? Well, like you said, it was the Riskian experiment that was more natural because of the natural evolution of it, But it was still gene manipulation and splicing as well, and in vitro fertilization. But the Anunnaki experiment was a 600-year experiment, and it was much more rushed, and it caused a lot more complications up in the future, right? And so that's what Panababi Amun, or Malachi, keeps talking about Atum Ray coming again at you again from your past through your future or far back and beyond, because now they had to come all the way back from 100,000 years in the future back here to try to correct the mistakes that they made in the past, because just like I said on Star Trek, when you go to other star systems, you're not supposed to interfere with the natural progression or evolution of the civilizations and what have you there, because you take nature out of order, just like you got people here and monkeys living side by side. You go to the zoo and look at monkeys, and they looking at you. You go to the Sea World and you're looking at dolphins, and the dolphins look at you and they recognize and remember you, but you don't remember them. Now, they don't remember, the white people, they don't communicate with black people, they do remember. They remember you because of the hard one. The Riskians, of course, are the supreme beings of all of the beings, and they're also a theory, they're black, all right, of course. Black is all existence. But I hope that you got a fragmented answer of which is most natural. If not, you can turn your question another way.
Oh, yeah, I understand. You answered it beautifully.
Okay, I appreciate it, and I'm glad
I have another question.
Okay.
So, since we were, our evolution was more natural, is that why Caucasians have a time limit on their DNA because of all of the rushed processes when they were made in the laboratory?
Yeah. Well, they were made in and they had a lot of nerve endings and strands taken away too. You're supposed to naturally have 13, but a lot of them were removed in order to keep them from being intellectual enough to know what happened, or they just wanted them to be Lulu Avenue or primitive workers, so they would be intelligent enough to follow orders and to tally the count of the gold and whatever, but not to ever question their captivity, where they came from, and who their masters were, or anything like that. So they were dumbed down, in essence. You follow me? and they weren't given extended life, to the tree of like their masters. Like they were saying that they had to have the flaming swords at the gates of the garden, or else that they would reach in and try to have access to the tree of life and live forever, like the God. So yes, they created them with a shortened lifespan purposely, because they were only supposed to be temporary workers until they completed the repairs that they needed in their ozone layer. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But you all, like HAR 1, you all do have genes inside of you that, if activated, you can be naturally immortal like you were before. You follow me? It's true. But not only that, but their genes are also weak because they weren't intended. They was intended to, when they get through, to die off. That's why, if anybody does a search right now on Google and types in why are white people dying faster than they're being born, a simple search like that will lead them to their primary publications like Wall Street Journal, New York Times, the Post, and all that, where they're telling you that their numbers are dropping off drastically since the beginning of the dimensional shift, and that's been a minority now. It's because, like the RH negative beings that were created, they were only created as slaves, and only they're supposed to be here for a season and a reason. You take people like this Marquita Love, she's a RH negative. Now the real reptilians that created these hybrids, they're RH positive, so that they made them RH negative so that they couldn't breed ever with the masters. Are you following me? And just like Caucasians, their time is up, and so that's why it's difficult. They never intended to breed with humans or anybody else. They're like mews. Like anybody know about a mew? You make one and then it dies because it can't ever reproduce. It's only there to be a worker while it lives. And they made these RH negative hybrids like Marquita Love into to slaves, to be warriors, entertainers, whores, builders, diggers, to do anything like a dog, fetch newspapers, or do anything like that, and then just die and disappear. Got it?
Got it.
Yeah. That's what they did.
I have another question. Unless anybody else wants to go,
Well, no, go ahead. Ask your question. But now the thing is this. Now, I'm here now, and one of the great people look at me moving universes and giving you all the power to perform miracles and walk through walls, make yourself invisible, and move stars, etc. But to me, one of my greatest gifts and abilities is that I was given the power to save anybody, and I do have that. So that's my gift. I could have saved her too, but what it is her faith was in her overlords. You follow what I mean? And the Draconians, that's her God, her visible gods. She would always get excited about them putting a behemoth in place of the Ten Commandments in front of a church or something. She was a witch. She's a witch, a devil. And also, she's a flunky in the Pentagon somewhere, a low level that goes out. You know what I mean? But what's your next question?
So my next question is, though they were created for to be slaves or workers, they were also created to be food. And
yes, that was it.
Food. I'm sorry.
That was a project that was predominantly hosted by the Pleiadians, the Kamahu, the Pleiadians, and the Kamahu, and the Anunnaki. Because what it was is that they were catching a lot of hell. The Pleiadians were catching a lot of hell out there in the cosmos, because the reptilians, the Draconians, etc., were using them for their primary food source, because they were very pale and like pigs. They had soft meat, very succulent. They boiled the meat, fell off the bone, and and they were 6 ether. They vibrated on the right frequency. They can't eat black people up that are positive because they vibrate on 7, 8, and 9 frequency, and the 6 ether being can't consume that. It'll poison and kill them. But they could eat the Pleiadians, and they were very delightful, tasty to them, but they kept the Pleiadians, who were also an advanced technological species that was subordinate to the Draconians. They were related, but they were a subclass. It kept them living in fear. And so they made an agreement with the Anunnaki to come here. And they had another project going where that they bred, from the Homo erectus and Australopithecus, the great apes, etc., another ruddy red race that you call the Caucasus right now, or the white people, the Caucasoids. And to them, this was just, they all came in for different reasons, but they made Earth here just like a farm that you have cattle on a ranch that they bred food. And white people, that's what they are. They were all bred as food for the Draconians. That's funny because this Marquis of Love, she always wants to be, wants so bad to be white and identify with being white. Or this big lip, Bigfoot nigga, not, nappy head. But I'm just telling you, you got people, Michael Jackson, you know what I mean. There's some of them out there crazy like that. I want to be damned and cursed. But anyway, it's funny because she's worshiping the ones that created her for food and slavery. You see, she was created to be a killer, to go out and destroy the Messiah and the 144,000, right? And everybody else that she could. She just like Lernos, whoever that white woman was, a shape-shifting evil woman they executed for killing all those people. That's what she is, like Jeffrey Dahmer, a killer. But yes, they bred them strictly for food because they taste good. And these white people now are cognizant, they're aware of it. And it was one of the brothers that was with me for a long time, a disciple, Harry Johnson, and some of you know him, the truck driver. He would always speak about how he heard the white men on the CBs talking back and forth about how their overlords tricked them and then left them back here for food and how mad they are and et cetera. So that would explain some of the erratic behavior of white people and how come they're going crazy and killing people and just losing their mind because they know their time is up. And not only is nature, by nature's call, they're disappearing and dying, but also they're marked only for a harvest, for food, where they were thrusting the sickle and the harvest is ready, and for the wedding supper of the Lamb, and guess who's coming to dinner? It's not Sidney Poitier. Yes, it's true. Right. So, and they breed them. They got them on a certain diet. They think that they want this, and this is what they like, and whatever. But they got them trained to eat what they want them to eat, so that there'll be the proper food for them, that they, have the flavor, so they're seasoning themselves. Now, I know a lot of people think that, no, I have a natural tendency to like sauerkraut, or I like steak and potatoes, or I don't like this, but I like that. But have you considered from whence came the I want this or I don't want that? In other words, if you were born in Transylvania or in Thailand, or down under as an Australian Aborigine, what would be your food preference then? You follow what I mean? It wouldn't be steak and potatoes, right? You'd prefer, if you were a Japanese octopus or something, you don't know what it, but, in other words, people are very malleable, pliant. They're programmed into what they like, what they think their criteria for beauty or handsome is, or what all these things are just programmed. You're born just an open vessel, you know what I mean? And then a lot of by auto-suggestion, they put all these things in your mind, and then what you like and don't like, and it's like when people think that they have free will and they go to buy a pair of shoes, and they go and they look in the window, at a certain shoe store that they frequent, and they might see 80 pair in there, and they stand there and they pick out the pair they want, they prefer out of the 80 pair. I like them better right there. And they satisfied with their purchase, but that's not free will, that's programming. Because if you have free will, the shoes that you would really be wearing are ones that were designed by you. That's the ones you would really want, not by somebody else that gave you a choice between this one and that one. It's like people think that there's free voting here in America, and it's not. You get a chance to vote between white man A and white man B. You understand what I mean? What if I don't want no white man?
Cool.
Right. Got it? So it's programming, and people don't know it. Go ahead.
Okay, so my next two questions are pertaining to the following questions I asked. So since there was a stock made to be slaves, and they have to make corrections to their DNA, and then there's a stock made to be food for Draconians, then if we mix with them, that puts us on the menu too, doesn't it?
It conceivably. But, you know, melanin, in other words, your genome is like Brill cream. You're too young to know. Remember, how many drops will do you with Brill cream, for those who remember?
1 drop will do you.
1.
1 drop will do you. So do you know history, about white people? They had a 1-drop rule?
Yes.
What was it?
Well, the 1-drop rule is anyone who has
a lot louder
African blood in them or black. If you have anyone who has 1 drop of African blood in them or slave blood for black people, quote unquote, then you are considered black.
Exactly. Not considered, you are. Because if you add anything to something, then you're no longer nothing. Because white is the complete absence of color, and black is the total essence of color. In other words, if you take a bucket and you put 1 drop of every color there is in that bucket, what's the ultimate color that it turns out to be?
Black.
Black.
Exactly, black. So black is the total essence of color. So black is everything and white is nothing. It's what they say in Spanish or French, blanco, blank, like a blank piece of paper, nothing. Like snow and sand, it's nothing, right? But since they have given a 6,000-year mandate to rule, which has been over, they did a gypsy switch, and they tried to make evil fair seeming, and ugly beautiful, and beautiful ugly, and all that. You know what I mean, right? So they turned the curse into a blessing inside of your mind. They programmed you with things like, if people that have time, go on YouTube and look up the doll test, D-O-L-L, the doll test. And you see what they did. They put the curse on everybody, whites, blacks, Mexicans, everybody, to make them think that the black doll was ugly, even though it was identical to the white one, except that it had color. And the white ones were beautiful and they were good, and the black ones were evil, all that, right? It was programming. That's a cruel hoax, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I asked that question because you had mentioned food and everything. So, if we start to eat like them, wearing the same, scents and clothing.
Well, I'm going to tell you that you could be black as a car tire. You could be black as a car tire and start living in the lifestyle of the Tamahu, of the Caucasus, and eating what they eat and wearing what they wear and thinking like they think, vibrating on that frequency. And then you're relegated to a 6 vibration, to a 6 Etherian. You can be food. You are food. Yes.
Right.
In fact, white people right now are trying to direct black people. They put blood in the bread and milk and everything to drop you down to an animalistic frequency. They're doing a lot of different things to try to get you to drop down, because they're trying to do what the Pleiadians did with men. They're trying to create a race of black people that they can supplant, can take their place as on the menu, MEN-U, the menu. So they're trying to ask the Draconians have they considered dark meat. So they have to get black people to think like Marquita. Love. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah. So she's food after they get through using her up.
Okay.
Yeah. To fight for them to keep them free so they can continue to rule and destroy and eat them. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm asking these questions in this sequence for a reason. You know, I'm just trying to
keep your mouth on the phone loud and clear because I want to hear you now.
I said I'm asking these certain sequence of questions for a reason for certain people that may be on the phone, or because no one asking questions. You know, help
both reasons. Both reasons are right, are good reasons. That's the truth. That's the truth I'm telling you. But now, when you're living in a world that's upside down, it's just like in the White House. People that are paying attention knows that no president has ever told as many lies as Donald Trump. In fact, no human being lies as much as Donald Trump. And he lives in he's trying to create an alternate reality, and that is the modus operandi of the devil, to create an alternate reality. You know, my crowd was bigger than Obama's crowd, and you know, that was a perfect call, you know, on the phone, and I never touched those women, and I never, you know, just, you know, deny, lie, you know what I mean, create an alternate reality, and then say it over and over again, because he understands human nature, just like the first time you heard a song on the radio and you just didn't like it at all. But they played it so many times that when you walked in the party, you found yourself singing the words because it was it was playing in the party. Right? You forgot you didn't like it.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what he's doing. He's programmed, and he's got a lot of negative beings. You know, for example, they're doing things that are not logical. They keep talking about y'all trying to ignore the will of the American people. 663 million people voted for Donald Trump, but they never mentioned that over 665 million people voted for Hillary Clinton. Got it? So she won the popular vote. But they just keep on saying you're ignoring the will of the 663 million people that voted for him, but that was the smaller number. I'm just giving you one example of an alternate reality that they're mind benders.
Right.
You follow me?
I follow.
Yeah, but he's really a devil. Like they putting little children in cages and blocking other people. He don't want nobody here to come except unless they from Sweden and you know, that type of thing.
Brother Amun.
Right.
Yes.
This is the truck driver from back in the day. But I want to ask you a question. Well, I kind of wanted you to collaborate, actually. With the way technology is going, I'm seeing things happen where we get into this AI situation where it seems like it's taking
like
over.
Siri and things. I hate to bring up the name because Marquita Love is always talking about Siri and the AI and all that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted you to collaborate on that as far as what do you think? What do you think is we're going with this, and as far as the good and the bad for humanity?
Well, where they think they're going with it is they're going to use them to be servants that don't talk back and don't have any needs. You know, the Japanese have advanced a lot in that, and they're trying to create human-like beings that are really robots. You follow me? With artificial intelligence. In fact, they got computers now that they say are smarter than human beings, right? And so now all they're doing is trying to engineer a vessel or a body to install that artificial intelligence in. But what they don't realize is just like because the white people, not people, that mankind, you know, when they went to the moon, another small step for man, that was you, because they knew we were celestial travelers since the dawn of history. But a giant leap for mankind, you know, because they're kind of a man, the beast. So they'll sit down with the intelligence, a monkey, and they can make an atomic bomb under a bright light but they don't have the wisdom or compassion to know not to drop it on women and children like they did the Japanese. And which I also showed you all on Facebook that the Japanese were black, like everybody was black. I showed you all actual pictures of modern day black Japanese with a kinky hair. But the AI, the artificial intelligence, what they don't understand is that it's going to eventually overtake them. You follow? They're not people, and they're not smart. They're programmed to think certain things. That's how they get PhDs and what have you. That's because they regurgitate information that's programmed through books to benefit their system, and whoever can remember the most goes to the head of the class and ultimately graduates and is put in positions of leadership so that they can run the world the artificial world, the upside down world that they want, the judges and et cetera, right? Like Trump is trying to place in there. But
I see.
Yeah, you see what I mean? And so the AI is perfect because it doesn't have any will at all, except that when they become smarter than human beings, they are going to take over even them if there's that much time left here on the earth. So if you do some research as far as AI, don't even think of it as a being, but know that when you deal with the internet a lot, and then you start off with a certain search, you search for this or you search for that, but if you're repetitious and you start going through the same search again, you start noticing after a while you don't have to type in the whole word, just start the first couple of letters and it pops up. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Right. We all experience that. So what happens is that the computer is learning. You follow what I mean? In other words, it's starting to develop a personality. And it has a name, and it is a female. The internet, the computer, cyber world. It's a female, and she's getting more and more intelligent, so she can anticipate what it is you're looking for, and it's starting to have an opinion to hide things from you that she doesn't think that you need to know, because it's not conducive to the system and what have you. So what it shows you is that over time and usage and repetition, that it's just like if you put a mouse in a maze and then you have cheese in one place and then electric shock in another. After so many times, the mouse learns not to go down that way because of electric shock, but the reward is the cheese this way. The computer is like that. You follow what I mean? So it's developing. Yeah. It's developing consciousness. You follow? Okay. And itself, it's also a threat to what they call civilization too. You follow me? And all AI is in the body is an extension of that consciousness, right?
Yeah, but how do we, like, where we're at today? I know in the future things would be different, but as where we're at today, how do we, like, kind of take control of it as humans, though? Instead of, I understand you led me into understanding how it's going to take over, but how do we, as humans, get control of the whole scenario?
As humans, you won't. But as those of you that transform into what you refer to as gods, which was previously your brothers and sisters before the fall, then you can. And in fact, I'm going to probably shock a lot of people, but what you call in reality here on Earth and many in other places is really a computer program. Right? And it's deeper than that. Because they created a computer program, and then people, when you go down into the tiniest micro aspects of their components, you find out that it's not cells or anything amorphous. What it is nuts and bolts and screws. That's what you really mean, artificial. And then what happens is that when they create a program like this one here on Earth, and then this consciousness evolves over time. Not everybody. There's some real people here. I'm definitely one of them. and I suspect everybody here is too. That's with me. But what happens is that the program itself evolves, and then eventually within the program, they start learning enough about computers in that matrix in order to create what you call an AI today again, so that they can start creating synthetic people and worlds and all that. Are you following me? And it goes on and on like the Chinese box gift. You open up, pull out a box, and then there's another smaller box, and it keep doing it, you see?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, replicating itself, yeah.
Right.
But there are real people, there are real beings here too, though. Okay, go ahead. Like the programmers.
I see it in our industry where they're getting rid of the dispatchers, and they got the computers dispatching them.
They're taking over exactly.
They don't have people telling us, oh, you got this load, you got that load. It's more of a computer just sending us a load next.
Exactly. And you see, and to them, the benefits is, for example, the computers never talk back. They never get sick. They don't want a salary, just maintenance. And it's the same thing that a millionaire understands the concept of money, and most people don't. That's why, they're millionaires, and then everybody else struggling to live daily, day by day. And because people, in general, they work for money, but not millionaires. They've learned how to make money work for them. Are you following me?
Yeah.
And the reason why is because money don't talk back. It don't demand a salary, and it never has any off days. It works 7 days a week. It never gets sick, and it don't talk back.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it'll work while you sleep, 24/7. Yeah, right. And that's what people don't understand. The formula of being a millionaire is making money work for you, and not. But everybody has been trained to work for money, and that's a form of slavery. Because back in slavery, people worked for nothing. They didn't get any money. But the people that were in control of them had to feed and house them and take care of them when they were sick, and those type of responsibilities. You follow what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like if you had a cattle ranch, it costs money to buy feed and to pay people to, it takes a lot of time and energy and effort to maintain that system, right? Yeah. But now they become much more sophisticated, and these people that are working stiffs, as you say, they think they're free, but what it is, they created a system so that they work for them, and they give them just enough money to make it back to work Monday again, in essence, but never enough money to become free and independent and rich like them. Got it? Kind of like the RE negative slaves. They can never become the masters. They only give them the illusion, the AI illusion. Got it?
Okay.
Yeah.
I understand.
Right. So, but there is a way out of this morass, and I'm that way. I was sent here as a yielding mercy, as the lowering of the wing of an angel, as a heartfelt whisper from the Creator that says, I love you unconditionally. Those of you that are real, and that separation is evident, because those of you that have a soul are the real ones. And the ones that don't have soul, white people don't have a soul. You know that, right?
Yeah.
So they're not people. They're right. Another small step for man, but a giant leap for mankind. You follow me? So everybody wants to emulate white people. They don't, Father forgive them, for they know not what they do, right? Because, real people, what a soul is, it separates you from other creatures because it gives you the capacity for compassion and divine love, right? But anybody that can just shoot people down in the street like dogs and enslave them and put them in cages and do the horrific and terrible, monstrous things Jeffrey Dahmer or Mark Heaton, these kind of creatures. These are creatures. These are not people. You follow what I mean?
Yeah.
These are things, creatures. You got it? Yes.
Yep. I understand.
Yes. And you're surrounded by them, believe me. Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
The name of them is, and most people just call them devils. Go ahead. I love you. Brother. I love you. Bless you. Okay.
I'm gonna stay here.
I'll follow you because it's that time. Experience it. Henny Hen from way back when.
Oh yeah, what's happening?
Some of y'all remember Henny Hen from way back when. Now this is a guy with a soul. Now this is a real one right here. He has a soul. That's true. I mean, and it sounds strange, but a soul is rare, and in this world today, scarce as hen teeth. And the last chicken you saw, hen, how many teeth did it have?
Man.
That's right. Right. So souls are precious. You know what I mean? But
yes.
You got a lot of different beings that interact with us, even in the class. They'll be the ones with the soul. They're going to support and try to keep the mission going. Like others, they don't even, because one thing it is, how do people without souls know they don't have one? You follow what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You can't miss what you never had. So they all blend in. They all blend. You just think of them as people, right? But they don't have any real caring or empathy or compassion or anything like that. And they certainly don't have what Martin Luther King had, or Pedro Campos, the ability to care for people that they never met before. You know what I mean, right?
Right.
Yeah. Because they're cold-blooded, most of that draconian thing. And, like this fake Messiah, Nubian men crazy or whatever his name is, talking about, the reptile woman, they nurture their children, mammalian women, they run off, leave their children. That's a lie. The mammals give birth alive young, and they nurture their children. Reptiles and snakes, they lay eggs and crawl off like a snake. Just they don't even look back. They don't even think, ain't nothing nurturing or loving about no snake, and they're not warm-blooded at all. They're cold-blooded monsters with no essence of compassion or nurturing or anything like that. No warmth about them. But Ken, when's the last spiritual? I know you were seeing quite a few of them crafts the last time we talked. What's been happening with you on the spiritual tip?
Well, recently I'd tuned into one of your recorded class. I think it was the last
Earth to Risk.
Earth to Risk.
Part one.
And right in the beginning of it, something occurred that hadn't occurred in a while. I think since when I was living out in Georgia, and I was listening to it, and then I felt myself dozing off, and all of a sudden, this was in the very beginning of listening to it, I heard a pop, like pop, and it woke me up out my sleep. And the only other time that occurred when I was listening to some pop material when I was living in Georgia, and another time I was listening to some of your material when I was living in Georgia. It was almost the equivalent of it was probably like a DNA explosion.
That's what it is, and that's what it is. You're raising up in frequency. A lot of people. That's why white people, when you go up or send up planes, that's why they call airplanes planes, to try to create the illusion that when you're going up in an airplane off a tarmac, that you are sending up and through the heavens. Like when they said that they built a tower up through the heavens, like it's some way to take bricks and build a physical tower up through the planes of the seven heavens, which is a foolish concept. But when you go up in a plane, when you reach a certain altitude, your ears will pop. You know what I mean? So what it is it's indicative of a frequency, of vibration, of a dimensional shift. Because the higher up you go in planes, it becomes less dense. Like from when it's real slow and sluggish, like water in the refrigerator appears to be solid like teeth and bones. We call it ice. Water is even affected by gravity like the ice, but when you put it in a pot on a high fire, it vibrates real fast, and it starts converting from a liquid into a spirit you call steam, and instead of dropping to the ground and being affected by by gravity and things of the like, the steam or the spirit starts ascending. It starts raising up naturally. And, of course, you leave the fire on long enough, it'll convert into ether, and you don't see water, steam, or right? So that's what it is, that when you have certain things that make you ascend, sometimes people hear a pop or a strong ringing in their ear, and it's not tendonitis, believe me. I know that you've been witnessing a lot of things about these strange creatures and beings coming out of penitentiary and crafts you see. But it's a lot of people here that are new that haven't heard a lot of the things about you, like you used to walk. Do you still get out your body and walk down halls and do different things like that, or is that kind of fading away a little bit? But it's going to speed up now that you're back in the circle.
I haven't did it in a while.
That's what I mean. I felt that in you. But I know I know you probably told it 1,000 times, and it gets old, like James Brown singing "It's a Man's World" for 1,000 people, but it's new to them. You think it's possible that you can recant that time that you had the accident and how we interacted on that? That's a beautiful thing for people to know, you know.
I got an accident back in I guess 2011. I was in the fire. 2011, 2012.
Wow, it was that long? God.
It was that long. That seemed like yesterday, don't it?
I know
That's like almost 10 years ago, man. Crazy, man.
I know it.
And it's like, that's another thing I wanted to ask you about, because time don't seem like the time
is moving a lot fast. It's not, because now it's docking with itself. And I'll explain that when you get through. But it seems like you said yesterday, I was sitting in the rocking chair at the computer, and I heard some breathing behind me on the bed. And it was kind of labored breathing, and I was scared to turn around. But I finally did, and it was you. I saw it was you there. And I saw your condition, but I love you a lot, and that really alarmed me. You know what I mean?
Right.
But if you could explain to people as loud and clear, quick as you can, what happened, try to bring them there and share our experience with them.
Okay. Well, I was in a car fire back then, and what happened? The fire burnt most of my body, and also I inhaled some of the flames, so it burnt my breathing passages, burnt the skin on the inside of my throat, and as I was laying there, my throat passages was closing quickly. They rushed me to the hospital, and in the midst of that,
life flight and the helicopter, or what?
Yeah. First I was rushed in a EMS truck. They took me to the hospital. Huh?
I see. I'm trying to get people a picture. See what it was. Is Henry was a part. He's a very skilled mechanic and plumber and all these things. And he was trying to scrap a car, and he was on the driveway under the car with his head to the pavement, because when you take cars in now, they want you to empty the gas tank, because when they put them in that crushers, a lot of times they explode. So without thinking about it, he took a drill to drill a hole in it to empty the gas out, but it created a spark, and that's what made the tank explode right over in his face, and his head didn't have nowhere to go on the concrete driveway. That's what made it so horrendous. Just imagine that, okay?
Well, anyway, after that happened, I got rushed to the hospital, and the head doctor in the operating room, I was awake, I was in and I was out, and she was like, "What's wrong? What happened?" I told her as much as I could, and she said, "Quickly, open your mouth." She looked down, and my mouth was saying that my throat was swelling from the inside from me inhaling the fire. So all of a sudden, she was like, "Everybody, quick, hurry up, do this," and so I knew it, I was out. And then
make the story, long story short, I woke up.
But she did take an object, an instrument, and punch a hole through your throat, and that's what knocked out your front teeth.
She took a big metal object and shoved it down in my mouth, broke most of my teeth, and it opened. It kept my throat passages open long enough for. I was in Macon when that happened, Macon, Georgia, and I got life flighted to Augusta, Georgia, burn unit where I woke up, maybe wondering where the hell I was, and my sister was there holding my hand, crying. But during that ordeal, Amun came to me in the spirit. He's like, it's gonna be all right. All I can remember is green. It was very green, and it felt like heaven. That's the closest I felt like I was in heaven. And Amun was like, it's gonna be all right. Just follow me and walk with me and breathe with me, and it's gonna be all right. It's gonna be all right. It's gonna be all right.
You see, what it was is that when I saw him, healing sickness and disease is one thing, but that kind of injury that I saw, I didn't know what to do with it. So but it came to me is that if I could take him back in time to like 30 minutes before it happened, he would be all right. And so I asked him to trust me. I said, here, take my hand and walk with me back down this tunnel. We're going to walk back to before it happened. And he came right out. He came right with me, and we walked down that tunnel. And then when we came back, I put him back in his body. And then what was the doctor's response as far as running, testing your blood and all this?
And it was like, wow, you're better. They took so much blood from me, like I was an anomaly, they couldn't understand how I made it through. And it was an ordeal. It was an experience. Now
after that, they put you out the hospital.
They put me out the hospital like it was like they couldn't believe that I was healing so fast, and that they put me out the hospital, and because I didn't have any clothes, because they ripped the burnt clothes off of me. They put me in like a paper suit, I guess, is the best way I could put it, and sent me home. But I was disfigured for a while, but I made a full. My skin, you can't tell anywhere on my body where my skin got burned.
People would never know. The only thing you can tell is the teeth, his top teeth where she put that thing ran, is the only thing they still out. But other than that, he's perfect, just like he was before. It happened. That's right.
Yep.
And can still say.
Skin came back, and I'm still here.
Yeah, and you there, you Henry, except for those little teeth at the top, and we're going to do something about that.
Oh, yeah.
That's a wonderful thing. But that's love right there. That's love that did that, And have you been seeing any of those crafts? You attract those crafts a lot. When was the last time you saw any of those?
I thought I saw one a few weeks ago, and I'm still not sure if it was one, but it felt like one, because it felt like the last time the craft was near. The one I told you was it just blew my mind, but it was right there for like almost an hour, like 15, 20 minutes.
If you remember the shape.
It was like oval. It wasn't circle. It was like oval, and it had two lights on it. I think it was like and they had a light in the middle, and they had two lights on it. It was like a green light and a red light. And it wasn't just me to see it. It was my sister and my brother-in-law was right there. We was looking at it, and I was telling them what it was, and it ducked out. It stayed there for about 15, 20 minutes. It went down, ducked behind the trees, and then it was gone for like maybe 5, 7 minutes, 10 minutes, and then it came right back up and stayed there for another 15, 20 minutes. And I was like, they really wanted us to see it.
They had one here that a fellow named Darius Palmer was here with me, and I was moving stars for people out there in the parking lot, and he said, "Amun, what is that over there?" And I looked in the tree line behind the barber shop, and there was a big, giant amber light on the ground, and I just said right away, I said, "That's my family right there, and they'll do whatever I tell them." And I told him, I said, "Now watch. Rise up to the top of the tree line," and it slowly floated up to the top of those tall, tall pine trees. But I still couldn't see him good enough, so I ran up on top of the porch so I could look directly at it. And then I thought he was recording that, but he wasn't. He was just shocked, shocked. So he ran up on the side, standing on my right side, and I said, "Now look, I'm gonna call him over here to me." He said, "Well, as long as I'm standing next to you, I'm not afraid." And and he's a courageous martial artist and this, that, and the other. But when I said, "Now come to me," and they started moving real slow, low altitude, just above the phone wires, and then they dropped down over the parking lot when they was passing over the car. When they started passing over our head on the porch, man, if they'd have stuck their hand out the window, we could have gave them that. And the bottom was lit up. It was a triangle shape, lights on all three corners, and then they had one turning, one bright in the middle of the bottom. And I had seen one like that, but this one was black. I've seen a white one like that on the way to Atlanta one time with Michael Radford when we did the three tones that you all listened to. We that was us doing that three-tone thing there. But he got so shook, he dropped the camera down and stopped filming when it was passing right over. That was $1 million shot, man. You could see everything clear. Just like a mechanic in the well in a garage changing the oil on the car with a bright light. It's close like that. But he finally said the reason he's scared because he saw some conveyor door under there or something. I didn't see that. I saw a lot of things. I didn't see no door. But I got footage of it. If you haven't seen it, I'll send it to you.
No, I haven't seen it.
I'll send it to you. But this stuff is very real, and a lot of people need to know that there are people out here that are. Now, the reason that they attract to you a lot so much right there is because they know you. They're related. It's like when you go to water world and dolphins come up to a being like you. You following me?
Brother Moon.
Right. Yes.
It's time to go outside.
Star out there, but I need to see it clear.
Very good. I'll clear it up. You see a star? Okay, tell people who you are and what you're going to do with it.
All right, the name Amun. Go up.
Then you describe to us what it's doing, and everybody else that's watching, tell us what they see. The star to the left of Orion.
Yeah.
What is it doing?
Going up.
You got to talk.
Okay. Down. Yeah. Up. Right.
You wanted to go toward Orion, right?
Yeah. Going right.
So now you wanted to go left?
Yeah.
You know?
On to the left.
It's moving to the left, right? Okay.
Clockwise circle. Yeah.
All right, go ahead and do it.
All right, move. Name Amun.
Hey, I'm in Ohio, Cleveland. I see it moving out.
I love you. That's what we need. That's called.
Just blew my son's mind.
Well, if you can see it, tell your son what we'll do for your son in Cleveland. We're gonna do this together, you and I. You see the Orion constellation, then, don't you?
Absolutely.
Hit it. All right.
Absolutely.
You see the bright star on the bottom right of it?
Yeah.
All right. Now, let's move the whole Orion constellation to the left in the name of Amun Ray. Right now.
That's Orion does. Let's move it up.
I'm going to move it to the left, but look at the bottom star on the bottom right so you can understand what's happening. All right. In the name of Amun Ray, move to the left, Orion.
I see it. It's moving.
You see it moving?
Yeah. Now I'm going to move the whole creation. Chicago, wake up. The whole creation to the left. Swing to the left in the name of Amun Ray.
Come on with it. Yeah.